account. That's what he's doing.
Hello and welcome to the round 2 of season 4 Contest of Speed. This is the tier 1 big boys at it again, and once again it is wet in qualifying. I'm once again back here, Racer, Lewis, whichever way you know me by, and Perry is also in the building today. Welcome Perry, we're in the tier 1 commentary booth now.
Welcome, Racer. It's good to be back with you, former teammate in Tier 3. Had quite a lot of fun last year, and glad to be jumping here with Tier 1. And good to be back for Tier 1. It looks like Al's already set the top time to beat here in the wet, and I think it looks like, as was qualifying yesterday in Tier 2, seems to be getting a little bit drier as the session wears on.
Yeah, so apologies guys for the delay in streaming. We had a bit of an issue getting into the Matrix, but yeah, we got in. That's the important. Hopefully have a smooth race throughout now. Now, if anyone can give us insight into the weather for the race, that'll be fantastic. Because obviously it was dry in yesterday's race for the race, but will there be wet or dry running in the race? But yeah, like you say, as for now, Altakia's got about a half a second gap to Fruitful Coot, the race round 1 winner off this opening race of the season. But Bullet Boy up into P3 at the moment, Harrison David in P4, the replacement for Ferrer Rocher. So he's doing well so far. Mitch up into P5.
Mitch trying to build on that exciting podium finish last week. Kind of caught him by surprise, and former very solid Tier 2 driver who stays consistent is already off to a decent start. Although it really is, when you get into these wet sessions, whoever goes out last, if it doesn't continue to get drier, I mean, whoever goes out last and can do a decent time usually is out near the front.
Yeah, that's the thing we all find in the wet is the track really does evolve as the session progresses, and just like in real life, really. Well, depends. Obviously, if the rain increases, you struggle to tend to get that drier line that you find on the racetrack. But in these sort of intermediate light rain conditions, you can definitely, no matter what car it is, an F1 car, a road car, or a kart. Cars on that racetrack or on that road will help to get the water off the racing line and increase the grip as the session progresses. Looking at here, it looks like we've had quite a few people doing a couple of laps, which is not the strangest thing, to be fair. In wet conditions, it's always, I feel like the tyre always gets better as the more laps you do, just to get a bit of temperature, and also with the track evolving at the same time.
Right now it looks like Al is on a cool down lap, and yeah, you do need to run a decent amount of laps here just to get the line a bit drier towards the end, and you know, it is a lot easier to do a lot of laps in the wet and just continue to run instead of, you know, in the dry where you're limited on tires and you only get 1 or 2 laps. You can still go faster as the tires kind of wear in the wet.
So yeah, it's at the moment it's a track where you shouldn't crash into the wall, but as I experienced yesterday in wet quali, it can be done. It's actually really easy in the wet because the car doesn't stop. You lose the back end, you just drift off into the tyre barrier, which is about 2 miles off the racetrack itself. But in the dry, it shouldn't be an issue unless you get caught up in the turn 1 incidents, maybe at the beginning of the race, or just catch someone out, tangle with another person. But at the moment, looking on people doing lap times, we've got yellow in sector 2. I don't know where that, it must be just around before the Mulsanne straight. Raikkonen is currently P4. I think he's on a hot lap, to be fair. I say that, he's just gone to 0 now.
Yeah, just backed off.
Yeah.
He might still be trying to push, get a good run going to the next lap, but It was worth mentioning. Thomas didn't see it, and I'm assuming something that happened to you in Tier 2 yesterday, probably something similar to happen to him at the start of this session, just probably losing it. No official confirmation, so we don't know what that issue was. So we've had a few people, I think, either join late or have the same issue we had with driver in Tier 2 yesterday, where it's just not letting them in their car. So
Yeah,
that's why you see Jamie's name bouncing up and down on the bottom.
yeah, yeah. It's well, where I lost it was where Matrix is coming to now. This fast right-hander. I wasn't really trying because my whole aim was okay. It's beginning of the session. It's going to be wet at its wettest. I don't want to crash now, and didn't even try, and I just lost the rear end. It's so clumsy. But you lose the rear end, and you are a passenger. You're just heading straight to the scene of the accident. And yeah, it's such a clumsy thing. It feels like when you're driving it, but it's so easy to do early on in the session. So maybe that's where Thomas lost it. But whether it's, I mean, it'd be interesting if it's dry. I mean, the guys who started on the hards yesterday, it worked out really well for them because everyone was on the medium tyre and everyone was on fresh rubber. It was very close for the first stint, and no one could get away. In normal dry quality dry race, you'd have a mixture of soft, medium and hards, and the top 10 obviously having a more worn tyre. So you tend to get that spread and different strategies. People are quicker at different stages. But we had the unique issue of everyone being on the same tyre, apart from two people. Or three people, sorry, were on hards. And it sort of made the race at the first stint interesting. And that's why I was like, well, I could pit at the same time as everyone, or try and go out a bit longer and have fresh air, as my tyres still had reasonably good wear. So it'll be interesting to see if it is dry, what people do, if people have taken any notice of yesterday's race. So
As just checking chat, and Raza does put together a fair point, although given the weather circumstances, it's not really fair. Saying that his quality lap in Tier 3 is from the fastest so far of all the tiers. Well, yeah, if you did the lap in the dry in Tier 3, and it's obviously wet here for Tier 1 now, so I guess, yeah, technically, Tier 3 is on the fastest quality so far. And we did get a message from Thomas that he did lose it before the long back straight at the end of Sector 1, so that is an easy place to lose it because you're getting on the throttle.
yeah. Yeah, that's fine. Got that. So we are heading towards the crunch time. We've got 2.5 minutes left of this quali session. Matrix is still getting used to the wheel at the moment, so he's down in P13. Altakir is about to start his final. Well, he has essentially got 2 more laps if he wants to do it. Obviously, doesn't have to use these tyres for the race, so treat it, son. Put it down. If he's got the fuel, 2 laps might be useful. So we've got Altakir out. Bullet Boy has only just come out of the pit, so he's only doing 1 more run. And Altakir, in fact, has already backed out of his flying lap, so he's going to go 1 more time before 1 more lap at least before qualifying ends.
Well, looks like Mitch is going to come across. No, he's going to start his flying lap, just hopping on board of Mitch, but he's got quite a few drivers ahead of him, just finishing up an out lap. So,
yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see what Mitch can do back there in P7. I know that Harrison and Raikkonen, along with the top 4, are all still yet to set a really fast lap, trying to get out as late as possible. So he started a little bit earlier.
Yep, so I'm on board with Mitch now to watch him go through all this. Let's hide the everything, the UI, so we can just see the onboard footage as he goes down the Mulsanne straight. They did debate whether to have this chicane. I'm glad they did because the straight is pretty long and DRS is OP as it is really. So if we had just the long straight without that bus stop, there would really not be an overtaking opportunity.
No, it would really just be DRS, and also I think even if you would take out DRS, to be able to the ability to get slipstream and just be able to make it through as we see Matrix bow out here near the end of the session. Um, yeah, the chicane adds a little bit. It adds a passing opportunity and gives a chance for the guys ahead to defend. As Mitch really kind of is sliding through this third sector,
Yeah.
losing the back end a little bit. I'm assuming he probably has a dry setup on, so that might be part of the reason.
Yeah, that would make sense. Because he had a little moment going through the flat-out right-hander where I lost it yesterday. Almost just was able to. Maybe it was the wheel that helped him correct it. But here we go. He does a 142.2, a minor improvement. He probably won't be happy with that because obviously the track should have been much quicker. But I feel like he just had a few moments on the rear end, and it just didn't quite improve as he wants. So he may drop further down. Harrison David gets up to P2. So let's see who else is on hot laps. Altakir is a 10th up after sector 2. Who else we got? Bullet Boy. Oh, it was the yellow. Oh, Officer Juan is retired. So he may have lost it somewhere before that long Mulsanne straight. So he's only going to be 10th at best for the race. Altakir's in the final sector. He's got essentially, well, 2 corners left now as we come towards them. A very unique circuit, Paul Ricard. Or lack of
I think that we could see close to a 140 flat here. Maybe.
He was
maybe
only a 10th up.
140.5.
He was only a 10th up on his previous, on the last sector, and it's only 3/10 up, so it's 140.6. So
that's still an 8/10 clear of his teammate. Let's see what Bullet Boy can improve in the racing point. He goes up to P2, so nice lap for Bullet Boy to split up the Mercedes.
Here comes Fruitful into the final turn. What can he do? And there's a Renault ahead of him as well. That's probably Javi. Fruitful goes out of P2. A 140.9.
I don't think Carlsberg improved, or if he did, he just barely did. Just caught that right as he ended the session, so yeah, I think he improved by 4/10, but didn't really move up in lineup. No, actually jumped up to P4, so good lap for Carlsberg and the McLaren, and a diverse top 10, to say the least.
Absolutely.
You can see, not kind of as expected, Altakir, P1, Fruitful. Nice rebound late in the session to get up P2. Bullet Boy, of course, I think had to reset here. He had talked about being in another esports race before this one, so doing a little bit of double duty, whatever other league he's in, up to P3. And Javi, a good rebound to P6, Raikkonen P7, Mitch P8.
Well, Harrison's just put in the message chat. It's the first time in the wet with no assists, so yeah, fair play to him with that qualifying. Top 5 for him. And it is dry. Overcast, but dry.
Raza talking about Mitch. Hopefully, he's rooting for Mitch to get a podium. He'll have his work cut out for him back there in P8 to start things. But it is one of those races, especially being in like yesterday, there's going to be probably at least 2, minimum, maybe even 3 different strategies that we'll see from the top 10. I doubt that everybody in Tier 1 will try the same thing because, again, I think about from P5 on back, people will try a different strategy to try to see if they can, make that work.
Yeah, it's a very good point because although in theory the medium to hard is the better strategy, or if you're on your own, getting held up and burning your tyres, overheating your car is not great, and it's a track where I feel like you can all be together. So yeah, I can definitely see different strategies. If people start on the softs, they're most probably, well, you can do a 1-stop, obviously, soft to hard, but possibly are looking to do a 2-stop. So I reckon most people will be starting either on the medium or hards, and then seeing if they can change the strategies to 2-stops, or just sticking with a 1-stop and extending. Because the medium you can do it. You can extend the medium all the way to soft. Whether or not you'd want to do that, it depends on the circumstance of the race. But we are off end for the formation lap. So what
Well,
tyres
taking
have we
a
got?
look, turning on the detail, yeah, everybody seems to be everybody except Big Slater in the top 10 is going with the medium tires to start with, so they'll probably be doing mediums to hards, and then Ginger Ninja and Matrix back in 11th and 13th are going to start on the hards, and though it is dreadfully slow. Trying it in a couple practices, you just feel like you're gonna finish dead last about 15, maybe even 20 laps through. I mean, it pays off near the end, quite a bit actually. So we'll see if either of those two can make it work.
Well, yeah, because the problem is A is getting the hards up to temperature, and B in general those media, especially now with everyone here having fresh set of boots. The mediums and softs are going to have an even greater advantage at the beginning of the race than would have been, say, had it been a dry quali. So the hard guys will have pain in the first half of this stint. It'll equal out around lap 10, 9, 10, when people will be looking to pit around lap 12 window. Maybe earlier they want to do a switch, an early cut back in pitting early and having fresh tyres. But I wouldn't be surprised. We've seen it in both tiers. At least one person going to medium and softs. Again, it depends on how you look after your tyres. But by having fresh set of top mediums, it can be possible. And I don't think personally, if you can look after those mediums, I don't think it's much worse of a strategy, especially with everyone on the medium. If we have the similar sort of thing of yesterday where everyone's together and everyone pitting at the same time, and you're struggling to overtake during that first stint, it might be better just to extend it, because it definitely worked for me yesterday, because then I had the better tyre. I mean, I could have pitted a lap later and that would have made things much easier. That last lap was a struggle, but the rest of the laps...
But the undercut's really big too.
Yeah.
This will be an interesting start. It gets clumsy into turn 1, and with as aggressive as Tier 1 has been in the past, this could be a really interesting start. Also, keep an eye on Big Slater back there in P9. He's going to have, I think, a little bit of a jump at the start. We'll see what happens. Get the lights on. 3, 4, and 5 lights. And we go. Al gets off to a pretty decent start, followed by Fruitful off to his left. And we've got some contact. And spins the McLarens.
Oh, wow.
Unbelievable. Just right. Carlsberry and
virtual safety
Officer
car.
One. Right out of the bat. I don't understand what happened there, if it was just the hard tires for Ginger Ninja. And just unbelievable.
Yeah.
And that really takes away the start. I mean, no one's really able to move up. So.
Well, it was. I saw the McLaren get contact and then went across the track. And both McLarens have somehow, I don't think. Well, Carlsberry's got damage. Matrix and
they both
Thomas
have damage.
Yeah, both McLarens got serious damage, and we're back racing now, and that's really bad for Ginger, because Ginger's on the hard tyre. So, Officer Juan, that must be the quickest DNF in contest of speed history. Literally only a few seconds. So, but meanwhile...
I feel like he was definitely a victim. Up front, yeah, look up Fruitful right behind Al. I don't think he got a great restart on the virtual safety car. Bullet Boy right behind as well.
Yeah,
tight racing, but into Sector 3, really difficult to pass around here in this part of the track. Big Slater up to P6, battling for P5. Battling for P7, rather, with Raikkonen.
Oh!
Tries it around the outside.
And he's on the
Can he
soft.
make it work? He'll have the inside, so he should, if he gets a better exit. And he'll make the move up to P6, which is exactly what he needs. And that insult to injury, Ginger Ninja gets another penalty for speeding in the pit lane. Both McLarens are in, and they'll have to double stack, so...
Yeah, it's not what the McLaren boys would have wanted. But Thomas, that would have helped him. He's up to P10 from 14th already. Mitch, so far, let's see who have lost places and gained places. So, position change. So, Harrison Javi and Big Slater all have moved up places. Big Slater's moved up 3 places. Charlie's moved up 3. And Thomas moved up 4. Matrix up 2. And Carlsbury has decided to give up the Ghost as well. So we've got 2 out already, and it's only lap 2. And Altakir is starting to pull away.
Now has that lead up a little bit over 8/10 now, heading into the 3rd sector, and again, Fruitful has a difficult task of trying to keep up with Al, and now this is really the early stage of the race. Really, I think the eyes are on Big Slater at the moment. Everybody else gonna, I think, slowly separate all on the same tires, but Big Slater's got to be able to make his way through the field to make up that time he'll have, because he'll be on the hards for longer. Already all over the back of Javi.
Yeah, obviously having those fresh softs, I'm guessing he's going to go for, well, the soft to hard is probably the faster option than the 2-stop, unless you have that really good pace. But he'll have about, probably, with a heavy fuel load, I would have thought he'd be looking to pit around lap 7 or 8. Maybe, yeah, lap 7 or 8, I think. Maybe probably lap 7 would be the better lap. 9 laps for me was more than enough at the end of the race. So I think 7 is probably going to be around the time where we see him pit. He has the DRS behind Javi.
Javi does not. And Javi does not, so I don't know if he's close enough. We'll see as they head into the left-hander in the middle of the backside. We got a spinning Mercedes. Harrison loses the back end, and unfortunately he'll have to just sit and wait through the queue to go through. Pull out in front of Matrix a ways behind, but back in P10, and I believe that was just probably either a mistake. I don't think he was close enough to Bullet Boy to really have any sort of difference. Meanwhile, back up top, Big Slater and Javi side by side, going into the back-to-back right-hander into Sector 3, and Big Slater will take the inside. Now runs a bit wide, but Javi has to concede the position. Maybe a chance here with DRS, but
nah, I think. And there goes the Williams of Raikkonen. Really opportunistic.
Extremely aggressive, but Javi gave him the space. Now they both have DRS, and being on the outside, Javi does have DRS. Now Javi might be making a move, peek to the outside of Big Slater. Raikkonen dive bombing them both into the corner. Contact, shoving Big Slater wide. Big Slater has to concede both positions, and also now getting it on the action is Mitch, just 4/10 back in P7. So Raikkonen makes a double overtake into turn 1, and did have some contact with Big Slater and Javi. A bit naughty of him, but now he's going to be the one under attack as he doesn't have DRS, but the queue behind him does.
What a fantastic move by Raikkonen into turn 1. Really opportunistic, and fair play to him as Xavi has to defend on the inside from Big Slater. Obviously Slater should have the advantage of the softs, but they will start to fall away. But fantastic Raikkonen now has got a bit of a gap between himself and P3, so he will be a sitting duck down the straights. But if he has the pace and the guys behind battle, it should help him. Xavi, to be fair, I think doesn't have the pace to keep up with Raikkonen and is more worried about Big Slater behind him.
It is worth mentioning, too, as we look at this big battle for P4, you have Fruitful staying within DRS range of Allen behind just half a second right now, heading onto the front straight. So still, Al hasn't been able to clear Fruitful, and the longer Fruitful can just save ERS, he's got 75% left, hardly used any. Al is just, hasn't been able to pull away from Fruitful.
Moved by Big Slater down the inside in turn 1, but he gives Xavi the room, and he's going to try and cut back.
Gets a great run through the second part of that corner. Now we'll have the inside, and instead backs out. He has virtually no ERS. Looking at the telemetry, however.
Oh, yeah.
My screen, he's got, 16% right now.
Runs a bit deep.
We've also got Mitch right there. Mitch is the ERS advantage right now.
And got a better run. Big Slater didn't get a good run at all off that corner. So here comes Mitch now, down the inside. as they catch up to Javi as well. Mitch has to be careful he doesn't take out the Renault. And in fact, and that helped Big Slater in the end because he had to be careful of not going in too deep and hitting the back of the Renault. And now he's under pressure from the teammate.
Charlie is making a move on Mitch on the inside here. Difficult corner to make. Charlie kind of cuts it a little bit, but backs off. Lets Mitch keep P7. And really, this battling for Big Slater's really just hurt him because now his advantage on the softs. Virtually this lap, I think, about the same as the mediums. And in another lap or two, he will really be under attack.
I think lap 7, he will look to pit, personally. Yeah, those. Oh, in fact, he's pitting now.
He's already pitting now.
Wow, that's early.
So definitely committing to the 2-stop, I think, with that decision. If not, he'll really have some old hards at the end.
Well, I'm on board with him now. Going to wait to see what he puts on those. I think it's hards. It's hards. So he's going for the 1-stop. But it's too early. He really could have done with that being a little bit later. But he's going for the 1-stop. So he is going to struggle at the end of the race. He's going to struggle to stay in the top 10. Oh, yellow's in sector. Oh, and that's Bullet Boy. Bullet Boy's off. I briefly saw a spit. I didn't see what was the cause of it. But from P3, and he's going to get a penalty here for cutting the corners, surely. No, he doesn't.
Got away with it. He didn't. But he did go from P3 to P7. I don't think Raikkonen was close enough, so that must have been just a mistake at the end of Sector 1, probably trying to get the power down, heading towards the back straight. And again, we see he's letting cars go by now, and I think that's because maybe he's trying to cool down his tires or what. Maybe he thought he cut the corner and gained an unfair advantage. But let's see, Harrison and Thomas 3 to P9.
Yeah, it might be because he has no wing damage, so it might just be a case of the tires overheating, and he's had to try and cool them down. But,
that or he thought he must have got an unfair advantage heading back onto the track. That's what I'm assuming he did.
Maybe.
Some self-policing as Javi still with a queue behind him for P4, Mitch in P5, Charlie P6, heading back towards the front. And while this is happening, Raikkonen just pulling it away now and has a decent gap between him and Javi. Mitch, however, not close enough to make anything happen for Javi. And right now, all on the same tires, really just, just not a lot that can happen here. France is a difficult track to pass around, especially on the same strategy. Even with the DRS, I mean, it's a difficult track to make a move on.
It's just because there's so many long, fast, medium-speed corners, which is terrible for turbulent air. So
Charlie ran really wide that time, lost a bit of time, and now Harrison's going to make the move as we've got yellows in sector 3.
And
Mitch will get the inside. He'll make the move as Harrison makes the overtake right past Charlie and kind of left Charlie out to dry. Charlie tried to stay around the inside tried to stay around the outside that became the outside, as Bullet Boy, I believe, has retired in the pits.
Yeah, so he's giving up the ghost. Yeah, so Mitch up into P4 now, and he'll look to try and put away Javi, not having the pace now at this stage of the race. But Harrison's making his recoveries from his earlier spin. He's quicker than everyone around here at the moment. He'll be kicking himself about that earlier mistake, but looking already to line up the Renault. And fair play to Xavi, he's keeping Mitch honest. So Mitch is going to have to try and dig deep here in this first sector if he wants to pull away.
But Mitch has a little bit of an ERS advantage he can lean on. Not by much, but 25%. But I think that's a lot here in a place like France where it is so hard to save up ERS. As Bullet Boy in the chat talking that his setup was definitely either not what he expected it to be or maybe just had an issue uploading it, something like that. Either way, that's why he's decided to retire. Just car not doing what it's supposed to do for him.
Yeah, that's fair enough. So, looking... Oh, here we go then, down the straight. Everyone in the DRS train. Harrison having a little look on Xavi, but just not quite close enough.
It's still very early. I think as long as you're still in this group, you have plenty of time,
Oh,
whether you try to do an undercut to make a move as Javi,
rounding
forcing Mitch to go on
outside.
the inside, and now that's a run on the outside, but runs wide. And that opens the door for Harrison David to try the inside. Mitch, meanwhile, just seems to be slowing both of them up. Javi will defend well on the outside, get the run now, maybe try for the
Oh!
inside on Mitch, and Mitch has let him go through. Now Mitch tries for the switchback, has the space to do
Free
so.
wide.
Harrison's trying to go off the track. He's completely all four off the track,
Oh.
trying to make that move work, and will end up get by Mitch because of it. And now I think that has to be. He's got to have some sort of time penalty for an illegal overtake there because he had all four completely off the circuit and got by Mitch.
Unfortunately, my camera angle on the Renault decided to switch onto an onboard as Harrison now goes around the outside of Javi. But Javi's trying to fight back. He's still there. Brilliant side by side. They almost touch. But surely Harrison's going to have it. Javi's desperately trying to stay, but he has to back out for now. Oh, and I think the half's just hit the back of Mitch. But no damage done. What a great battle this is for P4.
It just continues to get closer every single lap. Harrison now trying to create a gap, but Javi will have DRS.
Slater gets a 3-second penalty. Here is misdemeanors back in P10. Obviously, the only guy to stop, well, along with Ginger Ninja, but he's further up the road. Ginger's going to do a 2-stop strategy, it looks like. But yeah, these four guys all nose to tail. Yeah,
and again, we mentioned it like probably 3 laps, lap 3 or 4, but Fruitful still hanging in there with Al is only just about half a second back. And you look at ERS, I mean, Fruitful just allowing ERS to keep him within distance and has full ERS, apparently just burning it for the straights, but this is allowing Fruitful just to stay, within half a second and forcing Al to be perfect. And I think that's a sign of a lot of improvement for Fruitful, heading into this season.
Absolutely.
Obviously got the win last week, but actually challenging Al and something that he was probably the 3rd or 4th guy in the fight last season. I did occasionally come away with some nice top 2 finishes, did get a win at Japan, but yeah, now actually battling Al near the top. That's what you like to see from the top tiers, drivers improving and forcing those ahead of you to continue to improve and get better.
Yeah, I think Fruitful is just looking to bide his time and wait for the pit stops maybe, and then try and attack in the second half of the race. Be interested to see if both drivers, I guess, will do the medium to hard. Here comes Mitch again, having a look on Xavi, but not quite close enough.
On the downside of this, I mean, because Mitch can't get by Javi, and you've got Charlie and Thomas right there. Thomas has made up so much time from starting at the back, is now in P8 and really within striking distance of P5. Harrison's been able to pull out the gap, so he had the advantage, and I think that's one thing that I know I'm not a steward, but I think you guys have to take a look at lap 8 with that battle because Harrison got made up a spot on Mitch that the game didn't penalize him for, so I think that's something that needs to be looked at.
Yeah, because
Denlos's perspective is different than mine.
Yeah, well, put it this way: if there was grass, because that wasn't on the racetrack, if that was grass, he wouldn't have made that move. So, fortunately for him, Paul Ricard is full of tarmac, so he was able to go off track and take advantage. So I agree. Will most probably be a penalty once we have a look at the onboards once more. But Xavi start again, all running a bit deep. The front end is starting to give up, and Thomas gets a 3-second penalty. So I think we could see some moves, but it's all about how good of a run they get on the exit off this corner here, turn 5. It's a good run by Mitch. Mitch has got a lot of ERS as well. And here we go, he's going to breeze past Xavi. Xavi obviously doesn't have any ERS. He's running on a medium ERS, so Mitch had all the energy to attack, and now is back into P5.
Charlie actually just about, if the turn was about 2 or 3, 100 meters further away, I think Charlie would have been able to take P6 from Tavi as well. I mean, that would have been, losing 2 spots in one go, and Charlie now definitely on the, a chance to take P6 from Tavi, who will have DRS now that Mitch is ahead, and that's one of the downside is it's really hard to break DRS here at this track, so we'll see if Mitch can do it. He's already pulled out at almost, over an 8/10 gap now.
Oh, yellow in sector 3. Oh, it's Mercedes again. It's
Harrison
again losing the back end while pitting.
And I think he was. I don't know if he was planning on going to the pits, but
I think he was
he's committed now. I think he was.
Yeah.
He just screwed up the pit entry.
Because a lot of pit is lap 12.
Pits with Thomas.
So they're going for the hards. But yeah, it's in the end, I think it must have been just going in too quick. The rears overheated maybe a little bit, and that was it. Matrix has gone by, so Matrix struggling today on the wheel, but yeah, he's only just come out ahead of Javi, but that will help Mitch if they can hold each other up. Yeah, Javi's gonna give Mitch a bit more time now because they are held up behind Matrix.
Matrix lets Javi go through. Big Slater as well is going to be holding up Thomas. Thomas actually about a second and a half further back, so I wonder if Thomas had to wait for Harrison, who spun for the pits, and that's why he lost so much time to Javi entering the pits.
And both the leaders pit. So
we'll see if our virtual pit crews can help get Ferrari out there in front of Al. I doubt so. And no, Al will continue to keep the lead. Raikkonen stays out for another lap, so he will, for the moment, take the lead. And
Charlie gets a penalty. Mitch and Charlie both pit.
This is a long trip down pit road, especially for Mitch in the Alfa Romeo spot. I think only the Toro Rosso and the Williams are further down. It just feels like an eternity here.
I wonder if, as they come, Javi's and they're all coming out the final turn. So
it's going to be close.
I think
Mitch has got him.
Mitch does get him, and they both. So that being held up behind Matrix, and maybe a hard sauce. Charlie has a big moment though. Those few corners of warming up those hards didn't work out because Mitch is way ahead of these guys. And I wonder if Raikkonen is pitting this lap, or if he's going to try the medium to soft strategy.
It's really difficult to make the mediums last that long, and I mean he's already lost, I think, quite a decent amount of time to the top two already. As Harrison, looking back, going to have DRS on Thomas for P8. He'll get past Thomas, repass him after Harrison spun entering the pits.
No, he's carrying on. I think he's going to go for the softs because at the moment he's actually pulling away from Altakir. This is the thing. I noticed yesterday. Sorry, actually, I'm lying. Altakir is slightly quicker. There's a few tenths quicker on this lap, but it's not massive amounts. And he's 5 seconds behind anyway. So I guess for him, he's thinking, I've got a big gap behind me. I've got a big gap in front of me. I might as well try a different strategy to everyone else and see what happens. Maybe there's a safety car or whatever, but I don't think the soft, unfortunately, is going to make a difference. No matter what, he's going to finish P3 today, but he's just thought, screw it, go for a different strategy.
Yeah, the only two left to pit has been Raikkonen and Matrix, and Matrix started on the hards. Unless Matrix might have pit. No, actually, he has not pit yet. Still on the hards. I was thinking Ginger Ninja as well, but he had to pit on lap 1. And Ginger Ninja, with all the couple of retirements and the fact that there's only 14 in this race, could still come away and steal the point after the incident on lap 1.
Absolutely. So we got a couple of battles, Javi and Charlie, and then Harrison has just got past Big Slater. So, and now Thomas is having a look at the back of Slater.
As Javi gets by Charlie heading down the back stretch.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
Javi
Thomas
getting Yeah,
is right
Thomas
there.
is trying to get around Big Slater. Javi now looks like he's got some better pace here on these new hards. However, Mitch has slowly edged away from this battle with the strategy of going a lap longer, worked out on the overcut, and is now 3 seconds ahead.
Yeah, massively quicker. And Fruitful Coot sets the fastest lap of the race, 1:33.715. Chavi's now past Charlie. He's 3 seconds better. Mitch, once again, the harder the tyre, the quicker he is. And he put out a really good gap. 3 seconds is now his gap between himself and Chavi. So at this rate, he's only 21.8 seconds behind Raikkonen. As it stands, as the Mercedes has a look down the inside off the Haas. They make a bit of contact, but it's okay. They still hold on. Charlie and Harrison David. It's deja vu for the Mercedes, having got past these guys and then having 2 spins. He's definitely got the pace to be ahead of all these guys, but he just needs to keep it on the road. And he'll have a good chance now because Charlie is not in DRS, so this should be an easy move.
Charlie tries to defend the inside, but I think that's just going to give Harrison the better run with DRS down the straight.
And here comes Thomas.
Now, late move for Thomas. Thought about it. Charlie gave him some space for it, but decided not to make a late dive. And I guess one of those risky things, I guess, battling for P7, Thomas thought, maybe not, but Charlie gave him the space, and now Thomas will peek to the inside into turn 10. And on the outside, Charlie does a great job defending, runs a little bit wide. Not too bad. That's some good defending from Charlie, though. He, again, aggressive, but gave Thomas the opportunity. Thomas took it, but Charlie, the preferred line around the outside that time, defends well.
Yep, so for now, Charlie holds on that position, and Harrison lines up Javi as Big Slater pits again. So, and Matrix finally pits on lap 14. So he's going to go onto the mediums. Big Slater, I guess, is going for a fastest lap. Oh, he's going for the medium now. So, interesting 2-stop strategy, which puts him completely
I
out.
I think he kind of gave up on the hards or something like that, because I mean, he was just losing so many positions, but I don't know if he'll be able to make up that much time at this point.
Oh, no,
he would be better off waiting for 4 or 5 laps and go on the softs.
Absolutely. No, we both questioned his pit stop earlier on, as the Mercedes now lines up Javi and is past Javi, even without any ERS either. That's how much speed he's got down that straight. So Harrison and Thomas.
Thomas late move, but gets by Charlie as well for P7.
Yeah, great move there. So we've got Harrison and Thomas on the up. Thomas looking seems to be much more competitive on the harder rubber, and his next target is the Renault.
It's impressive how Raikkonen has made it now 17 laps, or starting his 17th lap on the medium tires, and is still, I mean, has lost maybe about 4, 5, 6 seconds in the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 laps to the leaders, but has been able to at least keep those tires, haven't seen a puncture out of him, haven't seen him make a mistake yet. So it's going to be interesting to see where he comes out. I know he's got about 31 seconds to Mitch, so still might come out ahead of Mitch, and if he does decide to put the softs on and try to extend then for these final 10 or less laps, I mean, he should be able to still hold on to a third-place podium finish. Possibly also add on a fastest lap.
Well, that's the thing. He's actually currently matching Mitch's pace still. In fact, he's pulling away from Mitch. That's how good his pace still is on 16-lap old mediums. I think he generally had the pace to challenge the front two today, but unfortunately qualifying and that start of the race put him back a little bit, and he had to battle it out at the beginning, at which point then Fruitful and Altakir already got away. But it's still very close between Altakir and Fruitful. Nothing between them.
Well, he does come into the pits.
Yep.
The end of this 16th lap. I think Fruitful, again, is kind of one of those one of those things where as long as Fruitful can wait to last 3 or 4 laps and then try to make the move for the lead, I think that's exactly what Fruitful's doing. Not racing now and just waiting for the right time. As Raikkonen puts the softs on, we'll try to do the last 10 laps. And yeah, we'll definitely come out quite a ways ahead of Mitch.
Yeah, he had nothing to lose, did he? He was quicker to go longer. Now he's not going to catch the top two. He's 16 seconds behind them, but at least he can make hay while the sun shines and have those brilliant soft tyres. He may struggle because he's pitted on the same lap that I pitted. So that last lap,
Thomas and Javi side by side, and at the turn 1, Javi defends well, keeps the spot, but Thomas will be all over him and more than likely will get the job done on the backstretch. I think Javi's problem is either he's burning the tires up too much or just does not have a good enough setup through the slow sectors and loses quite a bit of time there.
Well, here we go. Thomas doesn't have much ERS. He's in overtake.
It doesn't matter.
And he's ahead. But let's see, Javi has got a little bit more, but he's got a bit more ERS, which may help him as they head towards the right-hander. Oh, the Haas is having a look down the inside of the Renault of Javi, and then backs out of it in the end. You have to be brave to make a move there, as the entry point is so tight, and it's such a fast corner, that first part of it. But for now, Thomas now has to try and recharge the battery, because he's going to be put under attack now down the main straight.
Harrison has been cutting into Mitch this time as well, and not quite a battle yet, but Harrison almost within DRS range of Mitch for P4.
Yes. So 1.4 is the gap now between Mitch and Harrison.
It is worth mentioning, we also talked about the battle up front, Al not pulling away. And though Fruitful's been saving his ERS and still has just under 60%, Al is in the same boat, has pretty much the exact same amount. So it's not like Fruitful has an advantage necessarily in P2. He's been able to hang with Al and will have the DRS advantage, obviously. But it's still just biding his time right behind Al, maybe waiting to see if Al makes a mistake later as we count down the number of laps. But still plenty of time for Fruitful to try to make a move and take the victory.
So yeah, Thomas has no ERS left, so he's struggling to pull away a little bit coming out of the on the main straights. But yeah, Harrison I think has got this. He's now 7/10 behind Mitch, and as long as there's no issues, he should be able to get past Mitch pretty quickly. As Raikkonen sets fastest lap at 1:32.3, so unless anyone does a pit stop onto the softs near the end of this race, we should be looking at Raikkonen getting the extra point for fastest lap.
And right now, the only one that maybe could do that is Charlie, but he'd have to do it right now, and he would also he's battling for P7 and P6, which is definitely far more important than taking the 1 point away. So
absolutely. Oh, Harrison! Now this is crucial. Harrison gets...
Yeah, there's a 3-second penalty. And
yeah.
We also need... Yeah, I was going to talk about penalties. Harrison has that 3-second penalty. I don't know if he has any more. I doubt Mitch has any penalties. Plus, you talk about the earlier pass where Harrison went off the track and made an overtake. So possibly that one wouldn't be figured out till later this week. But, you never think about it as Harrison easily blows by Mitch down the backstretch.
Oh, and Xavi and Thomas, side by side. Thomas had to defend, but brilliant move around the outside from Xavi. Xavi got more ERS, way more ERS. Thomas just can't respond, but Thomas is coming back.
Has a better run.
Despite not having much ERS, and I think the Renault actually just let him through already at that point. So Thomas regains that 6th place. And meanwhile, up front, Let's have a look. These two have been. It's like Fruitful's just been waiting to pounce.
Fruitful's been Al's shadow, essentially.
Yeah. So the front guys, we haven't given them much time, to be fair. So we might as well focus now as we are coming towards the crucial part of this race, the last 7 laps of this French Grand Prix.
That time Al definitely got a better run, but Fruitful has the DRS open, peeks down the inside, but says, you know what, I've got 6 more laps down there. I can try to make a better opportunity of it.
And he was running low. And he was running low ERS as well. I mean,
he's going for it now. He's still pushing. Looking at the outside of turn 10.
Oh, here we go.
I try to switch back into turn 11 and 12. Nope, not gonna be able to. Al shuts the door.
This is great. Like, Fruitful Coots really stepped up. Like, having the pace of Altakir. These two have, I think could be very much championship contenders for the remainder of this season. And looking at both of their ERSs, Altakir has got more. Altakir is on 71, Fruitful is on 44. And Fruitful again has a little look just to try and put Altakir off guard. Maybe miss a braking point or miss the apex.
As looking back at the battle for P6, Javi's been able to save 40% almost ERS, and Thomas hasn't really saved any. So I think it's a better time for Javi, who gets a poor run down the front stretch. You've also got to think about Charlie right on the back of Javi as well. Three-way battle for P6 continues on. I think if Fruitful is going to make a move, though, he's going to wait until the last probably 3 laps. I think we saw him get closer than usual and then burned up a little bit too much ERS, and now it's given Al a little bit of an ERS advantage as Thomas picks up a penalty.
Oh, again, Fruitful as a little look makes Altakir have to defend that inside line.
It really is, and I mean, this is, regardless of how they feel so far, I mean, Al and Fruitful, this is the best feeling when you've got the top two kind of running away with each other and just battle, same strategy, pretty much same pace, if you will, and just battling straight down to the finish like this. It is a nerve-wracking feeling, but it is like an adrenaline rush, and I know Fruitful, I mean, we've been in that spot before. Fruitful's got to be just on the edge of his seat right now.
Yeah,
as the fans should too in the chat.
Yeah, it reminds me of China last season, Perry.
A little bit, yeah. I'm thinking a little bit more recent. It reminds me
USA.
Reminds me of USA, yeah.
Yeah,
so.
yeah. It's a bit. Yeah, you and Sergey had a true ding dong battle. That was, some next level battles. Yeah, ours a bit more choreographed until the last lap. But these guys. Yeah, they've got a comfortable gap. Raikkonen, even with those softs, is still 12 seconds, and he won't be lapping that much quicker now at this stage that they are now at 5 laps old. But, Fruitful now is, looking at it, both Altakir still got a little bit more ERS under his pocket, but not much. And again, the Ferrari has a look down the inside here. Oh, this time much more closer. And they're both giving each other room here. But Altakir still holds on for now.
I think that time Al was more generous than he had been at the exit of turn 12.
And Xavi's
noted Fruitful was just a little bit closer.
Yeah.
As Xavi gets by Thomas for P6. Thomas still hasn't hardly saved an ERS. He's just been almost at empty.
Yeah, I think that's what's made him struggle to get away.
It's back to the front. Oh man, Fruitful is right on the back end of Al into turn 1. Didn't try for a move, just decided to stay behind and take the outside. But I think right now is your opportunity, Fruitful. If you are going to get in front, you're going to have less ERS, but if you're listening to it, I think you got to go for it right about now.
I don't know, because the thing is with the DRS around it, I don't think he's all that much quicker than Altakir. And Al's very smart. His racecraft's really good. And I just know if Fruitful made the move on him, Altakir will straight away try and get the move back on him. And with the DRS and all, I think with this track you want to do it. I mean, we've still got 3.5 laps to go still. I think he won't be able to pull away from Altakir anyway. And Al's just so good at regaining positions.
I think it's easier though if you try to go for it all now. Al has ERS saved, but he still has to get by you. Whereas Al now, I mean, he's got the ERS advantage. He's going to start burning it, and if you're out in front and start burning it, it really helps you stay in front. And I think I'd rather be ahead, even though knowing I know someone behind me has got more ERS. I think I'd either still try to defend, as Fruitful that time gained quite a bit through the middle of turn 17, I believe. So.
Yep, 3 to go.
He's got to go for it now. 3 to go.
Again, he's saving that ERS. The only thing I do agree, the thing I do agree with you is obviously both drivers will be maxing out their ERS at the end anyway, so it'd be better for Fruitful now to catch him out, make the move. We are at that point with 3 to go. You can make the move and catch Al out rather than both being on the high ERS at the same time.
Al's been able to get a little bit better of exits though to the backstretch. Fruitful's not close enough, in fact, further behind going into the turn 8 than previous laps. And I think Al, now it's just going to start, losing a little bit more ERS. He's got about an extra 20% saved up, and I think Al's probably got this, and it's doubtful that he makes a mistake, although he did last week, which cost him, a chance for the win as well. So, on the other hand, this is race number 2 of the season. There's plenty of other tracks to make your move Fruitful, and I'd rather be safe and maybe even stick to a P2 and points race than risk it all for a win and then end up taking yourself out, although you do have a 13-second gap.
Well, both drivers, if it finishes like this, they both will be on the same level points in championship. Early days, of course, but both roles would be reversed, but it is now 2 to go. And Xavi is still just ahead of Thomas by 2 tenths, and Charlie closely following behind.
Charlie looking for a move on Thomas, but just can't quite make it near the back end of Sector 3. Man, that is a big difference. P6 is almost like half a lap behind the leaders.
Well, here we go.
Al runs a little bit wide.
Yeah.
Thomas picks up a penalty. Thomas speeding in the pit lane.
Oh, here we go. This could be it.
Not sure if
this could be it here. Oh, Fruitful's trying to do a dummy.
Goes the inside.
Oh, what a move.
Oh, he's got the move. He's got the move.
As long as he can hold it through.
Al stays around the outside. Al forces his way in the inside. Doesn't give Fruitful a lot of room. Almost runs him off the track. But now Al the inside, Fruitful the outside. Up here to turn 10.
Oh, this is going to be close.
They're just neck and neck. Oh, Fruitful's going to have the advantage on the exit.
Oh, he's around the outside.
Sends it in deep. Sends it in really deep, and Al is going to have the small advantage, but now Fruitful will have the inside. And he will squeeze. Al leaves the track in P2, stays in P2. Fruitful makes the move. It took him about half a lap, but he got it done, heading to the white flag.
Oh, he makes that last corner a bit tight, but seems to get away with it. And this is where the heart really races, as it's the final lap.
Al's got a lot of DRS and is only using medium right now. I think he's going to wait for the backstretch.
And this is what I say, Al now has... It's all down to this first sector. Fruitful has got to do a perfect first sector. But it's definitely got to do this. Al's so good at overtaking.
He's got to get a perfect exit to the backstretch.
It's always easier being the predator than the prey on these sort of moments. The pressure's all on you being out in front, making any errors. He has a pretty decent gap, though.
Better exit. But Al's got, he can run overtake and for the rest of the lap.
Here
So
we
we go.
go.
Fruitful's gonna don't take the inside. Al around the outside. Brakes late.
Oh!
Fruitful runs a bit wide. Contact. I think they still keep all parts of their car. Fruitful now runs off. Al got a terrible exit.
But he's
Lost
got
the
more
back end.
ERS. He's got more
But he's
ERS.
got more ERS, so he's going to win the battle in the straight. Will take the inside and take the lead. As Fruitful used up all his ERS a little bit too early, Al caught him out, and unless something happens in Sector 3, I think Al's got this.
Yeah, I think he has as well. Yeah. Al, the gap is too far ahead. Al is just so cool and calm in these situations. You got the final turn, and here he comes. Down towards the finish line.
Al's got a penalty. I don't remember any penalties for these guys, and nope, there aren't any. Al takes the victory. He's a little bit more patient than Fruitful, and that's really what paid off. Has saved up the ERS late. Meanwhile, Raikkonen on track will come home P3 along with the fastest lap, I believe, unless Thomas picked it up at the end. Thomas might pick it up on this lap.
And Harrison, and it's still a battle between Javi. Thomas ended up trying to get fastest lap, like you said. Here comes Harrison, P4. Now, will Mitch get ahead of him because of penalties?
Is Mitch close enough? That's the real question.
Yes, he is.
Enough? Yes, he is. Just by 0.3.
And Charlie gets past Xavi
Mitch...
on the final corner. Xavi's done it, but Xavi gets back past because of penalties.
Too many penalties. Yep, Charlie sped in the pits, and that was the difference. Thomas decided to quit for the battle for P6, and I don't know, did he catch the fastest lap? He might have done it the lap before, and I just didn't notice.
No, he doesn't.
No, there he doesn't, so I don't think he had enough ERS to do so. No, he did. He did,
yeah.
Yep, so Thomas takes the fastest lap for P8. Ninja, how about the interesting start on lap 1? Takes P10, and Matrix maybe a little bit better this week with the wheel, but we'll get P11, and it's good for Matrix to get the practice on the wheel, to commit to it, and still finishes the race and finishes every lap P11.
So great victory in the end for Altakir. It was a real hard battle those last couple of laps, and fair play to all. There was a bit of contact. It was not really a case of it was just side-by-side racing action, hard-fought battles, but it's racecraft shone through again. Altakir just got it today, and they both now share the championship lead with 1 win apiece.
Oh man, this just sets up, you can't ask for a better 2 races between the top 2 drivers, and you really hope the rest of this 19 races to come, as we have another great track in Italy coming up. It should just be just as exciting as this French race was, which is not known to be an exciting track, but man, oh man, that was quite an exciting race.
Yeah, absolutely. So...
You gotta give invites.
Yes.
Alright, I got it.
Get the top 3 in.
I don't know how to spell Al's name. Hold on, I'll figure it out. Please pop up in my suggestions. I got his old one, but I didn't get his new one. How do you? I gotta look it up.
What's that? Sorry.
It's right here. Spelling Al's ID.
Oh yeah.
Not getting any help from PSN today on any suggestions. There we go.
Good evening, boys.
Hello.
Let's say I also invited Raikkonen and Al. If they decide to join, give them another minute or so.
Got the heart pumping.
Man, my heart rate was like 180 at the end. That was insane.
It's those moments where you feel your heart coming out of the chest where you
Yeah.
have that slap.
I was just feeling my heart. On the last 3 laps or 4, I was just...
Yeah, I had the last 7, then I wanted to try to overtake you.
yeah.
Alright, you good to go, Racer?
So, you all good to go?
Yeah. I'm ready whenever.
Okay, yep, we're all good. Okay.
Alright, so, you want to do it? I don't care.
No, it's alright, Barry, you go for it.
Alright, so we're going to start in P3 with Raikkonen. Raikkonen a little bit different of a strategy, and you did a tremendous job to make the mediums last to get you on the softs, and then once you popped up on the softs, I mean, you had P3 locked down, and I guess at that point, we're kind of just hoping for a mistake or some sort of incident to happen between the top two, but a great drive from you on the mediums. I guess how did it feel getting the mediums to last that long?
Oh, they are easy to go. They can go long, but the soft are a little trickier. They overheat a little bit. So it was easy to go long on the medium. Maybe I should stay one or on 2 lap because the pace on soft wasn't very good.
Unfortunately, you lost out on your fastest lap. Thomas decided to back out of his battle for P6 and pit again for softs to get the extra point in P8. So, unfortunately, you didn't pick up the fastest lap as well, or else that would have really helped you in P3. I guess looking ahead, you get some solid points after a tough week in Australia. Is this some place where you could consistently see yourself fighting for a podium?
Yeah, I hope so. I hope to play the win, but I think today they was too fast for me. I didn't know the race was in France, so I didn't have enough practice. I think to compete Al or with anyone else that got that pace, you have to make good training to have to follow them. It wasn't the case. The pace was still good, but not enough, so it's a bit shame because I think I could be faster with more practice, but it's like that. Okay.
But congratulations, Raikkonen. Solid P3 finish on the podium, and yeah, good luck practicing with Italy coming up this next week.
Yeah.
All right, moving on to P2 now. Second step on the podium. Fruitful, man. You had Al. I compared you to calling you Al's shadow at one point, just because you were all over the back of him in that final race. I guess from your perspective, was there anything else you could have done? You made the move, but maybe a little bit too early, as Al had enough ERS and DRS and retook the lead on the last lap.
Yeah, well, my plan was always to stay behind him for the whole race. But I at first I wanted to try the last 3 laps, but I know he is a very good defender, so it will be nearly impossible to pass him on the last 3 laps. And and then I went for it at like 24, didn't go, and 26 I finally overtook him. Yeah, it was just mad when I finally overtook him. And then he overtook me again, 27. Insane battle, I just can't get it in words.
I mean, it was so much fun watching, and one of those things where as a racer and even esports, anytime you're so close with a competitor battling for first place, you have that adrenaline rush, and I'm sure that you had to feel that adrenaline just all over Al the entire race.
Yeah, my heart rate was like 180 throughout the last 10 laps. So yeah, I had so much fun this race.
Yeah, congratulations again. A solid P2 finish. You and Al are tied up, leading the points through 2 rounds, and that sets up for another exciting 19 more rounds to go.
Yep.
Alright, so now moving on to our winner, Al Altakir. Al, you looked solid in the wet, had a pretty good advantage after your solid qualifying performance, but then in the race, I mean, you had Fruitful all over your back end. How stressful was it knowing Fruitful was just there to attack the entire time, making you couldn't make a mistake at any point?
Well, for sure it was stressful. I knew it was going to be very difficult to get him out of the DRS, given that this track, if you have the toe, is very, very easy to follow the car ahead. But yeah, couldn't make any mistake, couldn't take any penalty. I think we were just both going clean. So yeah, very stressful. And the last laps were just absolutely hectic. I think that's the most fun I've had in a lot of time.
Well, it was a lot of fun to watch. I guess when you got past with 2 laps to go, one thing we kept an eye on was your ERS, and for a long time, you and Fruitful had the exact same number for about maybe until the last 7 laps. You had the exact same amount of ERS, and then Fruitful started to burn a little bit more, and then by the end, obviously, Fruitful burned it all to get by you, but you were more patient. I guess, how was it to lose that battle initially to Fruitful with 2 laps to go, and then be able to know that you had the DRS saved up for the last lap?
Well, of course it was a bit annoying to lose the first place on the penultimate lap, but I knew I could retake it thanks to the setup I was riding. Harry and me had been doing this setup yesterday, and it was absolutely amazing on the straights. I'm sure that I was a lot faster than Fruitful on the straights. So yeah, I knew I could retake the first position on the last lap, but of course it's always going to be difficult because it's the last lap. And I want to thank Harry for helping me with the setup, and a bit annoying that he had 2 spins today because he was really on my pace. But the rain then a difficult first lap screwed him over, and yeah, a bit of a pity because we could have been fighting for the first place, me, Fruitful, and Harry.
Yeah, it is. He did a tremendous job to rebound, and also with Thomas for the Ferrari, finishing P8, but started dead last and also took an extra point. So Ferrari took home some solid points as well, who had the lead coming in, and I'm probably thinking they keep the lead as well. So anyways,
Yeah.
Al, not sure how many votes we had, but we're going to give you driver of the day as well for taking home the win. So not only a P1 top step at the podium and pole position, but a driver of the day as well. So congratulations.
Thank you.
All right, thanks guys. Any final thoughts from Lewis?
No, other than a fantastic race, guys. From the Altakir and Fruitful all the way from start to finish. Really, really close and good, clean racing. But in the midfield, well, battle for 4th and 5th for a long time was fantastic. So, yeah, well done to everyone. Another great race in Tier 1.
Yeah.
Alright, well, that's going to do it here from Contest of Speed on this Wednesday night. We thank you for tuning in and joining us here on Twitch for our top tier in Contest of Speed from the French Grand Prix. Al with the win, Fruitful P2, Raikkonen in P3. Again, join us for tomorrow night if you're going to be up late enough. I say tomorrow night for the Americas, tomorrow morning in the AM for any of you Europeans, as America's tier gets started at 9 p.m. Eastern from France for their second round. And then, of course, next week, a busy week, once again, 4 races. European League restarts with Tier 3 on Monday night at 10 p.m. UK from Italy, from Monza, the Italian Grand Prix. So, again, thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you back here and see you often, as a lot of support so far from Twitch. But, again, that'll do it. So I'm Perry the Dog saying so long.